This is a review for the Devil's Garden Campground located within Arches National Park. So Devil's Garden Campground is the only camping option within Arches National Park, and they actually don't even have any lodges in Arches either, so it's really your only option if you want to stay within the park. It's located about 18 miles from the point that you enter into Arches National Park. There are 51 sites that they have here. There's about 12 sites that could work up to a 40-foot RV, and that is definitely the limit. And even for that, it's probably going to be a little tight, so you just have to know that. It is a reservable campsite, and in fact, you definitely need to make sure that you have reservations ahead of time. They are reserved from March 1st through Halloween, and then from November to February, they're not reservable. They are first come, first serve only. And so that time it's off season, and of course you could have snow in Utah, but if you're traveling through, that would be a time where you could stop at first come, first serve. Otherwise, you're going to have to make sure that you have it reserved. You can see here what some of the sites look like, and I even went through and pulled up the ones that will work for up to 40 feet. Like I said, there's 12 of those. They do have limits of a 7-day maximum amount of time when you can stay. And apparently they have a 14-day max on the year. So if you're a frequent traveler, I'm not sure how they enforce that, but that's what they recommend, or what they request, is no more than 14 days on the year if you're staying here. The cost is $25, and with that you get the reserved site. There's a picnic table, there's a little fire pit, as long as fires are allowed, and then they have a couple pit toilets. So there are a couple toilets here. There's some drinking water, but there's not water hookups like for your RVs. And there's not any place for RV dump or any sort of shower facilities. Although when you first come in, they do show you a sheet of places where you can go for a public shower in Moab and to do an RV dump. Sites are reservable. It's supposed to be up to 6 months in advance, but I gotta tell you, I was just logging into recreation.gov recently to check for some sites in October, which they're already full, but what it showed is that there's actually sites available next May and June of 2022. So it's only supposed to let you reserve out 180 days, but it looks like it's open for the next year. So if you're thinking you want to come here sometime next year, I would try to go ahead and get those booked right now. One of the cool things is that Devil's Garden is a really cool area within Arches, and it's a place a lot of people don't bother to travel all the way up and in to get to this area. And you can see all these really cool rock outcroppings and all the different formations. And then you're not too far from some of the best hiking trails that you can find in the park with relatively few people. So it has really great access to being deep into the park where you have a lot fewer visitors, and you're right here where everything's ready to go. The one caveat about this campground that I think is important to know is that they have very limited generator use. So you are only allowed to have your generator on from 8 to 10 a.m. and then again in the evening from 4 to 8 p.m. And why that's important is because you probably are allowed to have your generator at times when you would be cooking meals, which is nice, but you cannot have your generator on in the heat of the day. And so for somebody like us that travels with a dog, we would never be able to stay here in the summer months because we wouldn't have a way to keep the RV cool enough for her to be able to stay in the RV. So your pets are allowed with you, but of course you couldn't leave them in a hot RV during the day if you're not able to run the generator to cool off. And of course there's no hookups of any sort, so there's no electrical hookups. If you were here in the off season, October, November, it's probably cool enough. March, maybe April, it might be cool enough to leave pets in the RV, but you're not going to be able to run your generators during the hot summer months. So just make sure you know that information's not posted anywhere on the websites, but they do have limited generator allowance. The campsites are all along this main road and this stretch that just takes you into the campground, and then it does a loop here that we're about to drive around, and then you head back out the same way that you came in. It's nice because it is near the amphitheater, and so I would imagine that they have some different events on typical years, maybe not now with COVID, but on typical years they probably do some different ranger events that are at the amphitheater because that's pretty typical of the national parks, and this would give you really nice close access to see those things. And terms of making your reservations, you do that through recreation.gov, and they also have an app that works really well. You can search by your RV length or trailer length, so you can make sure that you're getting a site you can fit into. You can see a map of the campground and select the actual site that you want. Again, though, you need to make sure that you're booking as soon as those dates are available because it will fill up quickly. I hope this review was useful to show you what the Devil's Garden Campground looks like and some of the rules and regulations on getting in there and getting that booked. Some hints and helpful information. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. You can follow us for more RV content, national parks, things like that. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at RV Homeschool. Thank you so much for watching.